I'm Patrick Flanagan, and I developed the audio engine in Voloco, the mobile app, and Voloco Producer, the plugin. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to design harmonies in Voloco Producer. Here are some examples of what those techniques can sound like.
Block chords. These are basic 7th chords. Drones. La 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 la. Drones. Octave doublings. Da da do da da. Quartal harmony. La la la.
Until now, I am the only person who has ever designed presets for Voloco, and I am so excited to change that. I can't wait to hear what other producers and sound designers can do with this incredibly powerful audio engine. So let's get started. Actually, before we get started, I want to say that this video tutorial is intended for people who have some experience with professional music software and music production. If you've only used the mobile app and you've never touched a piano keyboard, you might be a little bit confused at times because, trigger warning, there will be music theory. At various points I'm going to use words like key, scale, major triad, minor third, and if I've had too much coffee, I might say diatonic. If you don't know what those words mean, you will be a little bit lost, but on the other hand, you will get to see me click on some cool presets, so at least there's that. All right, let's get going. I have Voloco Producer running in Logic Pro, and I'm going to start by selecting the Hard Tune preset. Hard Tune is a good neutral starting point for building your own presets because it's just a single voice with pitch correction. Next, I'll switch to the Harmony tab, which is where we design our harmonies. But before we can get into the particulars of designing harmonies, we need to decide what key we're going to be in. The key is currently in C major, and I'm going to leave it there because it's simple and familiar, but you do have a variety of options. We offer a number of scales in Voloco, including major, minor, of course, but also major, minor pentatonic scales, the blues scale, harmonic minor, whole tone, chromatic, and a just intonation major scale. If you have suggestions for other scales that we should support in Voloco Producer, please let us know in the comments. Here we are in the Harmony tab. And what you see here is a single row for the single voice that we have in the preset right now. I could change the number of voices to 2, then we'd have a second row. But let's keep it at 1. And we also see 7 columns labeled as scale degree numbers. So we have scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I change the scale to something else with a different number of scale degrees, like the major pentatonic scale, you'll see that the number of columns shrinks to 5 because a pentatonic scale has only 5 notes. If I change the scale to chromatic, we get 12 columns for the 12 notes in the chromatic scale. But let's go back to major. And let me be more explicit about what these are in terms of note names. Scale degree 1 in C major is C, scale degree 2 in C major is D, scale degree 3 is E, and so on up to scale degree 7, which is B. What Voloco Producer allows you to do that's somewhat unusual for a harmony processor is specify the kind of chord or harmony that you want to create on each scale degree individually. Said differently, you can harmonize different scale degrees differently. Now let me show you how that works. For each scale degree, we specify how many scale steps the output should transpose the input. Now right now, and we do that by changing the values in these boxes. You can either type in the box, like I just typed a 1 there, I'll type a 2, or you can click on the arrows like that. Right now they're all 0, so when scale degree 1, a pitch on scale degree 1 comes in, the harmony engine isn't going to do anything. It's going to do 0 transposition to that note. It's going to output the same scale degree, right? Similarly, if I sing a D, which is scale degree 2, there will be 0 transposition of the pitch on output. It's going to be a D scale degree 2 on output, and all the way on, and the same thing all the way up and down the scale. But I can change that, and to sort of demonstrate that, I've got I recorded myself just singing a C, and it's going to loop. And so I'm going to press play on that, and while it's playing, I'm going to click the up and down arrows right here, and you'll hear the pitch of the output go up and down, depending on on the value that I put in this box. So I think you could hear that. What's happening is I'm changing the amount of the transposition between the input and the output. So this value here represents how many scale steps we transpose input to output. It does not represent what the output is, right? It represents how much we change the output from the input, right? So if scale degree 1 comes in and this value is a 1, that means we're going to output 2 because 1 plus 1 is 2. If I sing a C, which is scale degree 1, and this value is 3, that means we're going to output scale degree 4 because 1 plus 3 is 4. So hope that makes sense. It's a slightly different way of thinking about things, but it's very powerful, and I think you'll see that as we get into designing more complex harmonies with more than one voice. The first one that we're going to do is simply thirds. Okay, we want to harmonize in thirds. In order to harmonize in thirds, we need a second voice. So the first thing we do is go up to num voices and select 2 for num voices. Now we have 2 voices. Next, we need to figure out what values to put in these boxes for voice 2. Voice 1 is fine because we want voice 1 to just output whatever comes in, right? Whatever I sing or whatever pitch the material's at, voice 1 is just going to reproduce that. It'll do a little pitch correction, but it's not going to transpose up and down the scale. Voice 2, though, needs to produce a pitch that's a third above whatever comes in. So how do we do that? Let's think about the first scale degree first. That's C in C major. When I sing a C, which is scale degree 1, we want voice 2 to output in E, which is scale degree 3. When the input is 1, in terms of scale degrees, the output needs to be 3. Therefore, I'm going to put a 2 in this box. Because to get from C to E, we need to transpose by 2 scale steps. And because we're doing the same thing for each scale degree, I'm going to put a 2 in each box. I could type in the box, but I can also just click like that. And now when I play this material, this recording of myself singing a C, we should hear my voice harmonized in thirds. C. Lovely. All right, so let's continue now to do, let's do triads. What would we need to do triads? Well, a triad has 3 voices, so let's add a third voice. Now, if you know a little bit of music theory, you know that a triad is built by stacking thirds. So, it's a third from the root to the third of the chord, and it's an interval of a third from the third of the chord to the fifth of the chord. We just learned that when the scale is major, a transposition of 2 scale steps equals a third. So putting this information together, you might be able to intuit that we need to transpose up 2 more scale steps or 4 scale steps in order to generate our triad. But let's think about this in note names. Maybe that's more clear. When I sing a C, scale degree 1, what do we want to come out? G. What scale degree is G? 5. Okay, so we need 1 to become 5. Well, how do you do that in scale step arithmetic? You add 4. That's another way you could get to the same answer. The answer here, though, is for voice 3, we want to have all 4s here because that's what's going to generate the 5th of the chord. So now when I press play, we should hear a nice clean C major triad. C. There it is. Now we're going to keep going with seventh chords. For seventh chords, we're going to need 4 voices. So, as you might have guessed, we go up here to number of voices and select 4. Now we have 4 voices, and I think you can see the pattern here. Go from voice 1 to voice 3 is 0, 2, 4, and as you might guess, what's next is 6. If I sing a C and voice 1 outputs C, the root of the chord, we want voice 4 to output B because B is a 7th above C. 1 plus 6 equals 7. So we want 6 in the boxes for scale degree 4, and this will create the lovely 7th chords that you heard earlier when I at the beginning of the video. So 7th chords. So that's very nice. That's how you can do 7th chords. I should mention this. We have this sort of harmony preset menu here that we call fast actions. So this affects mostly just the harmony section, and you get some nice choices here. You get triads, you get the single voice unison, drones, which I'll talk about in a moment, and then also 7th chords. So if you don't want to do all the typing that I just did, just go to the harmony fast actions and select 7th chords. Okay, we're going to do drones, and I'm very excited about this example because it really shows off what's possible when you can harmonize each scale degree individually. For this sound, for this drone preset, I'm imagining a sound with 4 voices. That's why I've set up 4 voices here. One of the voices is always going to follow my voice. In the other 3 voices, I want to have a voice that is always at on the root of the key in the same octave that my voice is in. I want the next voice to be on the root but an octave down, and then I want the final voice to be on the 5th of the key. So if I'm in C, it's going to always produce G regardless of what note I sing. How do we set that up? Oh, and importantly, I want to do this with a just intonation scale. I'm going to select that here because just intonation just sounds really good for any kind of drone-like preset. Okay, so voice 1 is just going to follow whatever my voice does, so I'm going to leave that as zeros. Voice 2 is always going to produce a C, regardless of which note I sing. And let's think about how we do this. So for scale degree 1, this is pretty simple because that is C. If I sing a C, voice 2 produces a C. That means 0 transposition. Okay. If I sing D, which is scale degree 2, we want voice 2 to produce a C. So we need to take scale degree 2, D, down to scale degree 1, C. So we need to do a scale step transposition of -1. It's all about taking whatever is coming in and transposing that back to C. All right, so for the next column, that's scale degree 3, E. We need voice 2 to transpose E down to C. Transpose scale degree 3 to scale degree 1, so that's a -2. For scale degree 4, that's F. We need to get down to C. 4 minus 3 is 1, so we do -3. And I think you can see the pattern here. In voice 2, we start with 0 and we subtract 1 as we go across. So let's quickly click, and there we go. That should do it. That voice 2 is now going to produce a drone. Regardless of what note I sing, it's going to output C. Now we can do something very similar with voice 3. Voice 3 is going to be basically the same thing but an octave lower. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make voice 3 the same as voice 2, like that. All right, now voice 3 is the same as voice 2, and to get it an octave lower, I'm going to go over here to the handy octave down button and click that once. Bang. Now we've got voice 3 producing a C, an octave down, regardless of what note I sing. Okay, for voice 4, it's similar but different. We want voice 4 to always produce a G, regardless of what note I sing. So when I sing a C, scale degree 1, we want to hear G, which is scale degree 5. 1 plus 4 is 5, so that means we want a 4 in that box. Now, when I sing a D, which is scale degree 2, we also want to produce voice 4 to produce a G, and that means we need to go from scale degree 2 to scale degree 5. What do we add to 2 to get 5? 3. And so that's a transposition of 3 scale steps. And I think you can see the pattern here. It starts off on 4, and it decreases by 1 as we go across. So that's that. And now we have a preset that produces
Drone, 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 drone. La 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 la.
I love how that sounds, and it really shows off what you can do when when you can harmonize each scale degree individually. You can lock certain voices onto the same pitch, which is, it's kind of like you had a vocoder thing with a keyboard, and someone's just holding down the same chord all the time while you're speaking. But then there's one voice that's following the pitch of your voice. So really fun stuff. I encourage you to try it. There's also a fast action for this. So if you don't want to do the typing that I just did, you can come over here to the fast action menu and just select drones plus unison. Octave doublings are one of the most powerful but simple techniques that you can apply in Voloco Producer. You can use octave doublings to create sounds that really pop out, that have a deep, rich, or sparkling sound to them, or you can do subtle things too, if you choose to do so, by adjusting the gain of the voices that are an octave below or an octave up. So let's get started with that. So let's say first I just want to have a unison voice, and then I want to have an octave down. So I go up here to num voices, I select 2, and this is super simple. All I have to do to get an octave down is go over here to this button that says octave down, and that automatically sets up the scale step transpositions for that voice. And as you can see, it's -7 because we're in a major scale which has 7 scale degrees. So to go an octave down, we actually subtract 7. And let's see, I'll turn on monitoring and you can hear how that sounds.
Octave doublings. Ta-da! These are really fun.
Octave doublings are the basis for some of the factory presets that you might know if you've used the mobile app, like Get Low, Triple Double. A bunch of the presets that are in the Wormhole pack, I believe, also use octave doublings. So really fun stuff. Now let's say we want to do an octave up as well. So we'll have an octave down, we'll have a unison, an octave down, and an octave up. So I add a third voice that starts off being all zeros. I just click octave up, and now it's up an octave.
So this is 3 voices.
And I want to mention something I've done here to make that third voice really pop out. I've turned the gain on that voice up 12 dB. You can see that here. Now, why did I do that? Well, I'll turn it down to 0 dB.
This is the same thing, but the third voice is not cranked up 12 dB, and you can barely hear it. I'll turn it back up. Now you can really hear it.
So the reason for that is voices that are transposed up a lot in Voloco, like up an octave, tend to be quieter. And so if you want them to be an audible part of that vocal texture, you should crank them up. There's another pro tip related to gain that I want to mention. Voloco transposes only the pitched part of the audio that's coming in. Unvoiced or unpitched parts of the audio signal, such as high frequency noise or sibilants or plosives, can't be re-pitched really, because they're not pitched material to begin with, and so those typically just pass through more or less unaltered. When you have many voices, that unpitched material tends to stack up on top of each other. It adds constructively. It's like constructive interference. And that can raise the noise floor. It can also throw off sort of the balance between, sibilant or non-pitched parts of speech and pitched parts of speech. So what you want to do in some of those voices is turn the unvoiced gain down and the high frequency gain down, which is what I've done here. So for voice 3, I've actually turned those all the way down. So that third voice basically consists only of the pitched part of the sound. So this is sort of a subtle pro tip there. Next up, Quartal harmony. I love Quartal harmony because it has a sort of paradoxical sound. It sounds both sort of ancient and modern. It sounds both sort of medieval and sort of sci-fi, which I think is sort of an intriguing sound. And it's really simple. It's conceptually simple. You build Quartal harmonies just by stacking notes on top of each other that are separated by a fourth. Typically in Western music, we build harmonies by stacking thirds, and with Quartal harmony, you build harmonies by stacking fourths. So let's start off with just a second voice. I'll come up here and select 2 for number of voices. And to separate, or to start stacking in fourths, we need to figure out what number to put in here to do that. So if I think about what I want to have happen, if I sing a C, I want voice 1 to produce a C, and I want voice 2 to produce an F, because that's a fourth above C. A C is scale degree 1, F is scale degree 4. The distance in scale steps between 1 and 4 is 3. So I'm going to put a 3 in this box. And then because we're doing the same thing for every scale degree, I'll put a 3 in all of these boxes. Okay, now that's done. We've got voice 2 is a fourth above voice 1. Let's listen to what that sounds like.
This is a fourth.
Great. But we don't want to stop there. We want to do 3 voices, and we need to make some adjustments here. So we just learned that in order to separate one voice from another by a fourth, when the scale is major, we enter 3 into the scale step transposition boxes. So as you can probably guess, we need to go 3 more to make voice 3 a fourth above voice 2. So we're going to put 6 in all of these boxes. Okay, so now we've got 3 voices. One is a unison, the second is a fourth above the first, and the third is a fourth above the second. Let's listen to what that sounds like.
Quartal harmony.
You could probably hear that there was a tritone in the first chord that I sang, just by chance. I wasn't sure which pitch I was on because I don't have perfect pitch. But I can recognize a tritone, and you might not like that sound. Maybe you love it, maybe you don't, depending on the context. But if you don't want a tritone on when you sing a certain scale degree, you can always just go in here and change that. You could change that instead of one note being an augmented fourth above what you're singing, you could change it just to be a fifth. And that's kind of the power of being able to specify harmonies for each individual scale degree. All right, that's the overview of harmony in Voloco Producer. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more tutorials. I'm going to be posting videos about how to do vocal thickness, how to do really crazy spectral EQ and spectral panning stuff in the future. You'll want to check those out. Thanks again for watching, and I can't wait to hear what you can do with harmonies in Voloco Producer.